So today we are going to be discussing Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition. This is going to be a little bit of a retrospective, especially with the new edition coming out.
A lot of people are flocking away from 5th edition with the new D&D or D&D 5.5 or whatever you want to call it. And also with the OGL situation, people are flocking away. So this is a retrospective or an autopsy, if you will, of D&D 5th edition, even though realistically going forward and now it's probably the most popular version of any tabletop role-playing game ever.
It's the thing that got people into role-playing games. It got us into role-playing games.
Yeah.
So I think, innately there's going to be a little bit of bias on our side.
So we're going to discuss what we like about the system, what we don't like about the system, and ultimately if it's worth picking up or continuing play with it.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's discuss.
I'd be curious to see, I think our thoughts will differ a little bit.
Okay.
I think part of this is going to be interesting because for the most part, I am more of a DM.
Yeah.
And I think you're a little bit more of a player.
Yeah.
Although your DMing skills are up to caliber.
But
you prefer playing more.
I do prefer playing. There's more pressure as the DM. Also, I just don't like preparing.
Yeah.
I know the thing about me is I don't like preparing, and I know you don't even have to prepare really. But I'm also a little bit of a perfectionist when it comes to these kind of things. So I just feel the need to prepare a lot of stuff.
Well, you see, from my side, I'm a control freak. Mm-hmm. So I like the DM more.
Yeah. I like being a player because it's the pressure's not on me. You know, I can just have fun and be a fun character with a silly voice. And I can be a perfectionist in how I make my backstory and do my character sheet and stuff.
And look, I'm the one who teaches board games, so it only makes sense that I would run the D&D games as well.
That's funny. All right, so where do you want to start?
Okay.
Do you want to give backstory about how we got into it?
I think, yeah. Ironically, what we were just talking about, you were the one who DM'd it first.
Yes, so story about that, if anyone's interested. I was in gym class, every nerd's dream. I teamed up with the nerds. As much as we can, we did absolutely nothing in gym class.
Jesus, so this is why
wow. Yeah, we did nothing so much so in gym class that the teacher started to get mad at us for not doing anything. But one day I was in gym class, like, talking about D&D, and the nerd friends that I had were like, hey, we'd play. I was like, really? Okay, I'll buy it.
Buy it like it's a board game.
Yeah, so we got the starter set, the Lost Minds of Phandelver, which was the first D&D 5th edition starter set. Now there's a new, better one.
Now, I was not part of the gym class nerd group.
Yeah, but you
But you invited me to play, and I had always wanted to play, and at the first session I had my character drawn.
Which was pretty cool. We could show the art of your drawn character.
Yeah, I'd be a little self-conscious of it now that you're pointing it out.
Needless to say, we had an absolute blast.
My mind was completely blown when we played. I think whenever you play any RPG, a lot of the time a player will have a reaction once they realize they can do anything they want.
Yeah.
It's not like a video game where you're confined. And for me, that was the probably opening 10 seconds of the game.
Yeah. You were like, can I like parkour through the trees? And I was like, yeah, okay, you're parkouring through the trees.
Oh my God, it's happening, guys. Everyone calm down.
So anyway, we've played D&D 5th edition for a long time. That was in our freshman year of high school. We're long away from high school now. We've been playing for years and years. We did a 6-year campaign with D&D 5th edition.
For a long time, D&D was the only thing we played.
Yeah, until we branched out.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the specifics of the rules and stuff like that.
Do you want to talk about the lore of the game overall?
We can talk about the lore.
Okay.
D&D takes place in a very deep world called the Forgotten Realms. Obviously, this goes back to 1st edition. There's a ton of lore originally, and also different things that explore the lore, not just the books. Obviously, video games and movies and cartoons and stuff like that.
So here's the thing about the lore, and this goes for any RPG. When we're playing it, I'm probably not going to care about it that much. Because for the most part, we play in homebrew worlds. So most of that stuff, other than like the monsters, get thrown out a little bit. I mean, you can take inspiration from certain things. Like, I love Mind Flayers and I love Beholder, so that's going to be in my game and I'm going to have some lore around that. But as far as like the Forgotten Realms, that's probably not going to be in any of my games.
Yeah.
But I love the Forgotten Realms as
a setting
for Baldur's Gate 3 or the Dungeons and Dragons movie.
But you're not really going to take it for your own game.
Exactly.
And that can be said about a lot of systems.
Part of the fun for me of a DM is creating my own world.
Yeah.
Some DMs might be a little different.
If you're looking for an interesting setting that you can set your game in, this is a pretty interesting setting.
It's perfectly good.
It has a lot of deep lore. Obviously, most fantasy RPGs are basically like pretty similar to like Tolkien.
Yeah.
And this is pretty similar.
I mean, when you're getting into a fantasy game, that's what you want, though.
But it's also got some weird, interesting things like the Mind Flayers, like the Underdark.
And I will say I like the Mind Flayers so much, I ported them over to my Pathfinder 2nd Edition game.
Yeah.
Now, one thing I'm a little bit curious about is if someone wanted to run modules for Dungeons and Dragons 5th Edition, as opposed to homebrewing their own world, what would that experience be like? I'm asking you because I've never run a module and you have.
I mean, running a module, you kind of go with the lore you see in there because it's pretty ingrained in the game.
Right.
So you kind of have to go with the Forgotten Realms lore in that case.
Would you say what was the difficulty level as far as running the module goes? Preparing and running it for the players?
As far as me being someone who feels a lot of pressure in coming up with stuff, I liked it. Okay. I really liked it. Having cool ideas, and also you can edit the ideas that you think are lame and change them into something cooler. I think it's fun, and I think the D&D 5th Edition has a lot of fun modules out there that you can put your party through. Obviously, you have the Curse of Strahd, one of the most popular.
That's a very, very popular one.
Oh, we haven't done that one. I would love to play that one.
Yeah.
Or run that one. That one seems really fun.
Okay.
But yeah. I think the modules are great.
I was just curious because I haven't run one. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about the combat and the mechanics of the game.
D&D lives and dies in the action economy.
Yeah.
As do many RPGs. In this game, you have your action, your bonus action, and your move action. I can definitely see that as a little limited.
Yeah.
You can really only do one thing.
You can do one cool thing, and then the other things are just miscellaneous.
It's simple and easy to learn. Then that's what you'll hear a lot about 5th Edition is that it's pretty simple it's not too crunchy for someone who's just getting into it. It's pretty simple, like, okay, you have one action. What do you do with your action? You can do anything. You can attack. You can pick something up, whatever you want to do.
One thing I will say about the action economy, as far as something like a bonus action goes, I feel like as a DM, when it's a player's turn, I always have to ask, like, they've done their action, I have to say something like, do you want to do anything as your bonus action? I feel like maybe that's sometimes a bad idea because a lot of the times they don't really have anything that they would want to do or that they can do as a bonus action.
Which makes them feel like they're wasting their turn.
Or feel like they need to find something on their character sheet that they can do.
Yeah.
When maybe they don't need to do something.
Action economy, it goes also into the idea of the marshals classes versus the caster classes, which I would argue the casters in 5th Edition are way more fun to play than any martial class.
I think there are some martial classes that are pretty fun.
Some mix it up a little bit. Generally, the casters, you have your one action. As a caster, you can pick from a whole list of spells.
It's fun to have options.
It's fun to be in the midst of combat, see the scenario, be like, I have just the right spell for that. I'm going to use my action just for that. The fighter is going to be like, I don't care what it is, I attack. And ultimately, that's just not as fun.
It can get a little bit boring whenever the combat just reduces itself to, you roll a hit, now I'll roll a hit, and now you do it. And back and forth until someone dies.
And that's where some classes mix it up a little bit, like the Battlemaster fighter. You have a few more options. The monk.
The problem a lot of the time is also most of these classes don't have like a resource that they're using. Like a spellcaster has spell slots, so they have to make a decision. Is it worth it to use this spell slot here? The fighter is just going to be attacking and doing the same thing every single turn.
And then when you get into higher levels, they're doing that times 5.
Yeah.
It
can become a bit of a slog.
Yeah. And that also plays into, I feel like, putting more pressure on the DM to make a fun scenario that makes the encounter less just fighting.
And this is probably my biggest problem with the system as a whole. Because the DM, I feel like, is responsible for creating interesting scenarios for the players to have combat in. The problem is most of the monsters are not interesting. There's very few monsters that have cool abilities. Most of them are just roll to hit. The Beholder is a very well designed monster, and you can watch a video about that here. Uh, but I felt like at a certain point in the campaign, I had to homebrew all of the monsters, and I had to come up with interesting scenarios for the players to fight in, and that takes a lot of time and adds a lot more prep for me. So that's probably my biggest problem with the game.
Yeah.
I'm curious what your thoughts are on that as a player.
Well, as a player, you did a great job with balancing the encounters and making them less just fighting fests and more every encounter is a puzzle you have to solve with your combat abilities.
Right.
And obviously that is going to be fun no matter what system you play it in.
Yeah. So you probably don't, it doesn't matter as much to you because you just had fun.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
There are definitely a lot of, D&D being the most popular role-playing game, there are definitely a lot of homebrew resources out there to make the game more interesting.
Yeah,
like as an example, the zombies are not very interesting. Just the rules as written zombies in 5th edition. I used some homebrew zombies for a one-shot one time, and they were really fun. They had like this whole horde mechanic.
Yeah, the homebrew game for 5th edition is
insane,
pretty nuts. People come up with some pretty cool stuff. They should be hired to design the game.
I think that's the biggest plus of D&D 5th edition is it's the most popular, so it also has the most fan support. Because of its popularity, D&D 5th edition is super easy to learn. For one thing, the rules are pretty simple. But if you don't understand them, there's tons of videos out there, tons of articles about how to learn the game.
That's the best thing is it is popular, so there are plenty of resources for you.
And then when you get more into the game, after you're more familiar with it, there are still more fan resources that you can homebrew into your game to make the stuff you already know well more fun and more interesting. A really fun mechanic that I also really like about D&D is the advantage system.
The advantage system is very smooth.
Not many systems have something like this where you just roll 2 die, take the higher roll, or take 2 die and take the lower roll if it's disadvantaged. Really fun, like right out of the gate.
It is easy. It is a big bonus or a big deficit.
It's way easier than having a +2 bonus or a -2 bonus
Not
to your roll.
Not as much math or anything.
Yeah, it's really fun.
That's a very strong mechanic.
Yeah,
I would say.
Okay, do you want to talk about the OGL situation real quick? So I'm sure everyone watching this video knows about the OGL situation that happened, I think, last year.
It was a year ago, I think, at this point.
They basically effed over...
It's a complicated situation, but they effed over a bunch of creators who make stuff for the game.
And made it less open for homebrewing and effectively are kind of scummy in the business aspect.
It was a big FU to the entire community.
Yeah.
And I think everyone hated it. There was a big movement to undo those changes. And now they actually put the base rules in the Creative Commons.
Yeah.
But
the damage had been done. A lot of people moved to different systems. We had just finished our 5th edition campaign.
We were planning on moving to a different system anyways.
But this further made the decision easier to move away from 5th edition. It just felt weird playing a game run by, people who would be a little bit unethical with
and,
that.
It's fine if you still want to play the game.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with playing
especially if you already own the books.
Yeah,
I would say if you can play even without the books a lot of the times too, but
and it feels like it's like a money grab too.
Yeah, even if the rules are in the Creative Commons now, that can't be taken no matter what because it's the Creative Commons, but there's no trust with the company anymore.
They lost trust.
There's not any trust. I don't know if I see myself buying any more books from them. I know it's been a year, but I know, they make a lot of promises that they don't live up to.
Yeah.
So, and it just rubs you the wrong way.
There's so many other games out there that deserve your support.
The thing about D&D is it's awesome because it got a lot of people into RPGs.
Yeah.
That's one of the best things about it.
But hey, if you got into it because of D&D, now there's a whole world of fun tabletop games at your disposal that maybe are not as popular as D&D, but are equally as fun or more fun.
The problem becomes when people think D&D is the RPG. It's the only one.
Yeah,
it's the one D&D.
I hate the title one D&D. They're really trying to monopolize the tabletop RPG
I hate
side of it, everything.
Yeah, people, it's good to remember there are other systems out there, other systems that you might like way more than D&D.
Yeah.
It's not the system for everyone.
Other systems are certainly worth trying.
I think a lot of people like to hack 5th edition and make it into the game they want it to be, but there might be another game that fits you better.
Yeah.
For your preferred
With
system.
that being said, we are going to rate this.
Yeah, and we do like it.
We do. This probably makes it sound like we hate it. That being said, if you want to get into 5th edition, you want to go over what, the basic things you could buy are.
Yeah, I feel a little weird recommending you buy stuff from Wizards of the Coast now.
Well, the rules are free.
Yeah.
The starter rules are free. I would recommend just checking that out.
Yeah.
And playing that. All right. You want to talk about our overall likes and dislikes?
Yeah.
I'll start with I like the simplicity and how easy it is to learn, but also it has a little bit of complexity while you're learning to give you a little bit of thought behind like creating your character.
Even though the monsters aren't well designed, I did enjoy coming up with ways to use them.
Obviously, I really like the advantage and disadvantage system. That's definitely a positive for me.
I also like that a lot of people want to play D&D. So if you want to play D&D, there's going to be a place for you somewhere.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
D&D is kind of like Band-Aid.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
It's like the concept of I want to play D&D, but then you realize, oh wait, that's trademarked? Like it's an actual trademarked game?
Yeah. Oh, trust me, it's trademarked. They're never giving that up.
It's trademarked to hell and back. Oh, I like the layout of the book. And I feel like I've taken that for granted, but as I've gone to other books, I just really like how they've laid out the player's handbook.
Yeah, I can
very easy to follow. Great layout.
I open the player's handbook and I feel like I'm at home.
Yeah.
At home with a big giant corporation.
Especially when we play Pathfinder 2nd edition. I just hate how that one's laid out. Yeah. Okay, what are your dislikes?
The monster design.
The action economy.
Action economy is so-so. It can be interesting, but a lot of times it is also not great.
You want to rate it out of stars or something?
Yeah, we can rate it in some way.
Okay.
You want to do 1 out of 5 or do you want to do out of 10?
I think stars.
So 5 stars.
Yeah.
Okay. How many stars would you give it? I got to think about that for a minute. It's hard to rate.
I feel like because we played it for so long and we just kind of got tired of it.
But we also have a lot of good memories there.
Yeah. I feel like 4 stars.
I think I'm going to give it 3 stars.
That's an average of 3.5 stars.
Okay. Not bad.
All right. Tell us your opinions of D&D 5th edition in the comments below. Also tell us what your favorite RPG is.
Well, let us know in the comments below.
So thanks for watching. If you want to see more videos about RPGs, subscribe. Because we're going to make more videos about RPGs.
We are?
Yeah.
Okay.
Every week, in fact.
Oh, frick. Not bad, kid.